Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've been learning JavaScript, you've probably spent a ton of time typing code into your browser's console and just hitting enter to see what happens. Am I right? Well, today we are going to completely transform your workflow. We're transitioning your skills from manually firing off code to building truly interactive professional web pages. We're going to make your websites actually come alive. So let's just address the elephant in the room right off the bat. In professional development, we don't just sit there firing code manually by hitting enter in a console. That's great for practice, sure, but out there in the wild, when someone visits our webpage, we want our code to react automatically. We want the page to respond directly to the user, not just sit there waiting for the developer to do something. The absolute secret sauce here is understanding that these automatic triggers are called events. Basically, an event is just a specific condition being met or some action occurring on a web page. And the crazy thing is, they happen constantly as a user explores the site. Whether someone is hovering over a company logo, clicking a tiny icon, or just scrolling down to read an article, literally every single one of those actions is an event. As professional developers, it's our job to write code that listens for and reacts to those exact moments. Okay, here is our roadmap for this explainer. We've got Section 1, Welcome to JavaScript Events. Section 2, The Quick but Messy Way. Section 3, The Professional DOM Approach. Section 4, Syntax and Event Varieties. And finally, Section 5, Mastering the Basics First. Let's jump right into Section 1, Welcome to JavaScript Events. Let's look at why we actually use these things. It's all about interactive behaviors. Think about it super standard functional drop-down menu. To make that work, you actually have to write a function that triggers when a specific icon gets clicked. To the user, it feels like one seamless feature. But behind the scenes, it involves at least two completely distinct events. One click event just to open the menu, and a totally separate event when they click it again to close it. Two events, two specific actions firing as a result. Moving right along, let's look at Section 2, the quick but messy way. Now, when you're first getting your feet wet with events, you might discover a shortcut. You can technically write them directly into your HTML using attributes. You could totally just slap an onclick attribute right inside an H2 tag and set it equal to a simple alert. And hey, it works. The alert pops up. But I gotta be honest with you, as a professional standard, this is a massive faux pas. It's generally avoided across the industry. And there's a really good reason we avoid this. Inline HTML just completely clutters up your markup. Imagine trying to run a massive complex function when a button is clicked. You definitely do not want to wade through loads of JavaScript right there in your HTML. Plus, it breaks the golden rule of keeping your HTML and JavaScript separate. If you have an event happening across multiple pages, you really shouldn't have to rewrite it in every single HTML file. Think of a separate JavaScript file as a clean, uncluttered desk for your code. It's infinitely more scalable and just way easier to manage. Which brings us to the pivot. Section 3, the professional DOM approach. So the much cleaner, industry-standard way to handle interactivity is by using JavaScript DOM event properties. It really just boils down to a super memorable three-step method. First up, you select the HTML element you want to target, usually grabbing it with something like document.getElementById. Second, you store that element inside a variable, so you've got a nice, clean reference to it. And third, you access the event property on that variable and assign a function to it. Boom. It's clean, it's isolated, and your HTML stays completely spotless. Okay, let's dive a bit deeper in Section 4, Syntax and Event Varieties. The syntax we use for that third step is actually fascinating. Notice how we write title.onclick equals function? We're using what's known as an anonymous function here. Normally, we give our functions a specific name, but here, it doesn't even need a name because we are assigning it directly to the onclick event property itself. It exists for one reason and one reason only, to serve this specific event. But hey, quick word of warning on the syntax. Because this is an assignment statement, meaning we are setting the onclick property equal to this function, you absolutely 100% must include a semicolon at the very end of the closing bracket. When you declare a normal function, you don't need one, but here you definitely do. Once you've got that locked in, you can throw literally whatever logic you want inside that function block. Simple alerts, complex swirling animations, fading effects, you name it. And what exactly can trigger all those cool animations? Well, the events sandbox is huge. Beyond your everyday onclick, you've got on mouse over, scroll events, load events, and honestly, tons more. The sheer scale of interactivity you can create is staggering. There are frankly way too many to cover in a single course, let alone just one explainer. For instance, if you use the on mouse over event, you can trigger logic simply by detecting when a user's cursor just passes over an element. You could trigger a helpful little tooltip, maybe a color change, or even a cheeky, lighthearted dirty talk alert like, "You hovered your mouse over me, winky face." Just to keep things fun while you test your code. It perfectly proves that your page is constantly, actively listening to the user's physical actions. And I've got a massive pro tip for you if you want to explore all of these properties. You do not need to memorize a textbook. Just open up a modern browser like Google Chrome, pull up your Developer Tools console, and type the word "on" right after your element variable. The console will literally hand you a massive scrolling list of all the available event properties you can play around with. It is an absolute game changer for learning this stuff. Finally, let's wrap things up with Section 5, Mastering the Basics First. Down the line, you're definitely going to hear about a more advanced method called Add Event Listener. And don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic tool for complex event handling, but, and this is a big but, it can sometimes face some super frustrating browser inconsistencies, especially for dealing with much older environments like Internet Explorer 8 and below. Because of that, mastering the direct DOM event properties we've covered today is hands down your most reliable, rock-solid starting point. By mastering these foundational event properties, keeping your workspace clean, and really understanding how to listen to the user, you have officially unlocked the true power of interactive web apps. You're not just displaying static text anymore. You're building a reactive experience, which leaves us with one final, pretty exciting question. Now that you've got the tools to make the web react, what incredible experience are you going to build next?